Labeling theory done by John A. Cummings. What is deviance? When a person engages in actions or behaviors that go against social norms. Deviance depends on the time in which the act was performed. What is considered deviant today might not be deviant tomorrow. What is labeling theory? Labeling theory is the idea that when a person commits a deviant act and is caught, the label of deviant and the treatment that comes with the label reinforces the person to commit more deviant acts. Foundations of labeling theory. Cooley. Charles Cooley coined a term called the looking glass self. This is when people use the observations that are collected from the people whom they interact with in order to develop a self-identity. We base who we are off of how society perceives us. Mead. Mead proposed a similar idea that the self is formed through social symbols and interactions and then internalized into the conscience. Lemaire. Lemaire described deviance as society having a negative reaction to an act and associating that act with the actor, branding them a deviant. Lemaire was the first to coin the terms primary and secondary deviance. Primary deviance is the first incidence of deviance resulting in the label for the actor. Secondary deviance is any act performed after the first deviant act that reinforces the label. Howard Becker is thought to be like the founder of the labeling theory that we use today. His theory is formed from a combination of all three of the original founders. Becker believed social groups were the cause of deviance because they make up the social norms or rules that constitute what is deviant and what isn't. Not everyone who commits a deviant act is labeled a deviant, just like not all who are labeled deviant have committed a deviant act. Becker developed 4 categories based off the idea of whether or not an act deviates from society's expectations and if deviant acts are only deviant if it is believed so by others. The first of the 4 categories is conforming. Conforming is when you obey the rules or you're at least perceived as being a rule follower. The next is a pure deviant. A pure deviant is when you break the rules and you're perceived as breaking the rules. Then there is falsely accused. That's when you're accused of committing an act even though you actually have not. And then secret deviant is when you commit deviant acts and then you don't get caught. Consequences of deviance. Deviance is a master status, which means it takes priority over other statuses you have and alters the way people view you. This leads to a drastic change in your social participation and self-image. When you possess a general deviant trait instead of a specific one, it is often assumed that you possess an array of other undesirable traits as well. This ends up producing a self-fulfilling prophecy for the deviant. An example of labeling theory in action would be, let's say you are a well-liked neighbor in a suburban neighborhood. People view you as a kind and respectable person, and then one day your house is raided and news comes out that you are a drug distributor and you are sent to jail. Once you're released, your neighbors no longer speak to you and keep their children away from your house. They start to treat you like an outcast. You have difficulty getting a job because everyone knows of your criminal record, making it more difficult to maintain a life. Distraught from the rejection of your friends and the ability to live a normal life, you turn to a life of crime in order to meet your basic needs.